Good morning, it's Jessie. I'm back again. Um, so I've been talking about a lot of things over this past week, a lot about iniquity and injustice and lawlessness. And, you know, I may seem like I'm scattered all over the place because when I look out into the world, I see a lot of things. I see a big mess with the organizational structure. I see lawlessness. I see iniquity. I see people like sheep. I see other people like trees. I see so many things. And one thing that we do when we see injustice is we try to learn how things work. And we go within the system because nobody can develop a new system, right? It's too much. Do we look like Moses, right? No one wants to develop a new system. The task is too big. It's just giant. So we work within the system and we educate ourselves and try to discover more about the problem. We try to look at what are solutions that are out there, what are some ideas that maybe haven't become solutions out there. We climb the ranks, we go to school, we get involved in activism, we get involved in advocacy, we do lots of things in trying to make a dent in the world to make it a better place. But see, I did those things. you know I got my last degree back in 2012. That was more than 10 years ago. And see, the thing is, when I was trying to climb up the ranks to see, let me make my mark in this world, let me help you to change it, let me be a part of the change, the transition into something new, something better, because I've seen so much injustice in my life. And what I found there was they didn't want me. They wanted to cut me down. They were on this, I think, like, this world goes in fads. Like, one generation will champion mental health issues thanks to Carter, right? The next generation will champion addictions, thanks to Reagan. And then the next generation, here we are. Um, Now we're championing um, gender rights issues, as if God didn't make us perfectly as we are, and as if we don't need to accept who we are as we are. Um, I don't care what kind of surgery you have. A man will never be a woman will never be a man, and the way you dress, that's just a social construct. Men wear skirts in Scotland for thousands of years. It doesn't matter. All these things are social constructs. It's not that you want to be a girl, it's that you want to wear soft clothes, you want to wear a skirt, or you want breasts, or you want whatever it is you want. I don't really get involved in that issue. It's not to say that I don't have sympathy for those who are oppressed, but it is to say that we're just champion causes. We're writing causes, and if you can't get behind this cause, then you can't be a part of the movement for change, because this is the area that we're attacking right now. And then they go through all sorts of underhanded tricks to destabilize you, to take you out of place, because you're not allowed to challenge the system over here where we have people protecting the integrity of the institution by ruining their victim's reputation. We're not allowed to challenge the lawlessness in it. We're not allowed to promote civil rights for all. We can only work on this group right here. And it's kind of ridiculous, and it's kind of it's self-defeating, really. It's self-defeating because if you go back and look throughout history, these causes that they champion, like mental health rights, through Carter, mental health became like a spa. you know they had lunches catered in these programs. Everybody was so kind. they made an appearance as if they cared. And then they cut away the free lunches, and they cut away the services, and they cut away the care, the protection, to say someone is not criminal. They're suffering with mental illness. It's a sickness. It's a chemical imbalance. They truly can't help themselves. We cut away all the protections and we criminalize things. Why? Because that's not our cause anymore. We don't want to feed it anymore. And anyone who rises up to say, we need our rights, we need our protection, we need our care, we need our therapy, we need our medication. Anybody who rises up like that, well, we got to cut them off. So now we say that, we have to have accountability. We flip the script, change the narrative. We put people on the streets and act like it's everybody's responsibility to know how to approach mental illness when it was never something that was dealt with in public. It was always something that was shooed off into a closet somewhere, you see. It was shooed off into a closet, and there was a separation between what they went through and public eyes, Like sometimes people need to know that people with mental illness are approachable. You have to validate them because this is what they're looking for. You have to validate them. Like for this young man who was on the subway and unfortunately died in a chokehold by somebody else who thought he was protecting the train. If we had just learned skills, people are looking for validation. They're going crazy because they're not being validated, because they're suffering injustice, because they're under manipulation, because people are provoking the hell out of them. They have been pushed to this limit and they have broken. And so now we got to say, I see you, I hear you. What is the problem? We have to, as a society, become the counselors, because the counselors are failing. But nobody's having that dialogue. We're just throwing everything together, and when it blows up the way it did blow up on the train, where we're charging a young man with manslaughter, when he thought he was doing the right thing, he didn't have a malicious bone in his body. He just didn't want anybody else to get hurt, and because he was a soldier, he was trained to protect people, right? So it's like understanding that you make these things, you provoke the hell out of people to drive them insane first off. You test them, you prod them, you tell them they are entitled, you give them validation, you act like you care about them, and then you throw them to the streets and cut off their services and wonder why a young man is on a train saying, I'm hungry and I don't care. I kill everybody. I die. I don't care. You wonder why he's out there saying that, because nobody cares for him. We have such a disconnected world, right? Nobody cares for anybody. Like you care for your friend until your friend's in trouble. Then you want to distance yourself from your friend because maybe your friend, what's on them might brush off on you, and you don't want any part of that. So when they're going through their hard time, you isolate them, At some point in this world, we have to stop looking at other people to be the solution to our problems. We have to stop looking for causes to run on so that we can feel righteous. So we can feel like we're good people. We have to stop looking for these things. So if I seem disorganized, it's because I'm not trying to change the system anymore. I've seen how it works, I've seen that it is failing society, and it is driving society to hell in a handbag, It is just taking us way past our limits. It is putting requirements on us, but not giving us the tools to be able to meet these requirements. It's placing demands on us that we don't have the maturity to handle it. It's messed up. It is lawless, and it just says, this is a solution, this is where we go. Get behind me, let's run this cause. And then drop this cause, and run another because we really don't know what we're doing over here. We can't fix the problem. We made the problem. We made the problem worse, but we can't fix the problem. So now we're going to create a new cause to run on, this whole gender identity thing, you know. That gender identity thing, it makes me think, you know, every little girl, when they get their period, wants to be a boy. No one wants to be having their period, to bleed, you know, for like, what, an eighth of your life? An eighth of your life you spend bleeding, bloated, and with cramps. Nobody wants to be a girl when you're that young, you know. But in time, you accept who you are. These tricky people, they get in, and they get in your head, and they say, well, if you don't want to be a girl, you don't have to be a girl. But they don't tell you. You still have to deal with the cramps, the bloating, and the bleeding, you know. You don't want to be a boy, you don't have to be a boy. You know, puberty is hard. This is a transitional place, you know. You got to watch out for these transitional places, because people will come into them and run amok. They, like I said, a little girl wanting to be a boy is a natural part of development, especially when she gets her first period, right? Puberty is harsh. Nobody wants what they're in. They all think the grass is greener on the other side. They all want the attention that the other side gets, you know. They don't see everything that goes into the other side. They just think, because they're miserable and they're looking for a quick solution, they think, well, if I was a girl, things would be better. If I was a boy, things would be better. And there is no drastic change that anybody can make to change the way the world is, you know. There is no magic, snap, easy button. You have to build who you want to be. You have to build the world around you as you want it to be, you know. A lot of people shortcut things, and this is the problem with our leadership today, you know. They shortcut things, and it's a do what I say, and I know you don't understand, but trust us, we're the experts, you know. And you're doing stuff you don't understand. And you're following their ways, and the world's getting worse. It's getting worse. We run a cause, we abandon cause. We criminalize cause, we jump on next cause, you know. It's hard to change the world. It is very hard to change the world. There's too many steps to take, you know. What I'm doing here is pointing out what you're missing. You're all saying, trust the experts, do what we say. We get misled that way. My allergies are kicking off and my eyes are like, whoa, you know. I got that post-nasal drip going and it keeps making me want to cough. Sorry. But I'm trying to bring forth this word, even though it's uncomfortable, you know. You have to build the world. I'll say it over again because I lost my train of thought. You have to build the world. You have to build the person you are. There is, I'm sorry. Wow. There is no easy button, you know. Everything takes time and it takes work. Things that come easy cost way too much, you know. There's too much of an expense to it. At what cost do people get to be the experts? At our expense while they experiment to see what's right or what's wrong, you know? Now, I've been told, and I know it to be true, that God keeps those who keep his laws. God keeps those who keeps him, you know? And so my sentiment is that we should return to the law, you know. And it's not just this statement of faith that says, you know, so that God will keep us. But it's more than that, because as I look through history, and everyone who came to deliver the people from the so-called experts, you know, from the people who were oppressing them and telling them what to do when they really didn't know any better, when they brought them out of oppression, what they did was they gave them laws. They gave them laws and instructions for how to live, you know. Get up and wash your hands, wash your face, you know. Wash your hands before you eat. You know, simple rules, just little simple rules. And we look at Jesus and we say, well, Jesus like condemned them for their hand washing. But then we look at today and we go, wait a minute, because we have to hand wash to get rid of germs, because if we don't, that germ we pick up in the grocery store off the grocery cart is going to infect us the next time we put our hands near our face, you know. So it's like, there was something to that law back there of washing hands, and washing hands preserving our life, because it's true today, you know. The truth remains over time. People will come and undermine the truth and tell you that there's nothing to that, but there is something to it if you pay attention. What they knew back then, you know, they had no talk of germs. They had no talk of diseases like that they had control over, that, you know, they didn't have the mind to think. They didn't have the vocabulary, you know. They didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have the science, you know. All they had was Moses. And what did Moses tell them to do, you know? Wash your hands, you know. It doesn't have to be so big. Like, we don't need a march on Washington to wash our hands. We just need to wash our hands. We don't need anybody's permission. You know, we don't need anybody's approval. We wash our hands. It makes us better. Now, I'm not telling you to be a Jew and engage in ritual hand washing, because one, I don't believe in conversions. If you're not a Jew, you're not a Jew, you know. And two, I'm using this point because it's simplest, and it's something that I think everybody can understand. Everybody, no matter what your background is, no matter what your religion is, because we teach our small children, you know, wash your hands after you go pee-pee, you know. We teach people this, and to know that this was a simple instruction that was given way back when they came out of bondage, and how do you live, you know, it's meaningful, because it's telling you that you don't have to do these great massive works. It's telling you it can be so simple as learning small little things like wash your hands. Now this next one's a little more tricky, you know, because way back when, people used to cut people down all the time. They had petty arguments. They set people up. This one woman in Solomon's time she killed her baby, and then she stole the baby from another mother in the community, and then claimed that the other mother had the dead baby. And Solomon was like, what do I do? They're fighting over each other. And Solomon had to be very clever to settle this issue. He had to realize that the real mother wouldn't want the baby taken. So Solomon says, okay, cut the baby in half and both of you take half. You know? And the real mother was like, no, let her take the baby. Let her take it. It's her baby. Let her take it. You know, the real mother would do that. The real mother would give up her child rather than see her child suffer. But do you understand, when you come out of bondage, you do stupid things like that. You kill something and then steal something from another to replace yours and blame them for killing something. You know, you do stupid things, and it causes the people that are trying to help you to have to go to clever modes of deliverance for you to figure out what's going on, because your mind is still stuck in bondage, still stuck in survival mode, still stuck in making a case the truth doesn't matter. And this is the bad thing about today too. If you make the case, the truth doesn't matter, because the judge doesn't know. The judge doesn't have eyes to see, right? The judge doesn't know what's really going on. So if we make a case, then it's, if I did wrong, you have to prove it, and it's there's no fear of doing wrong, because you know that you cover yourself, right? There's no fear, right? Because you're guarding yourself. You're living this life constantly, making cases, you know? But you can't live that way. You can't live that way, because you cannot be righteous and sly, slick, scandalous at the same time. The righteous mother will say, "Don't kill my baby." There's a test to see who is what, but it's a test that comes at a price, right? Oy. There are simple things to do. There's understanding. When we look at this story, we have to understand like what they came out of. We have to understand what made them like they were. And we have to decide, we're not going to live our lives making cases, right? We're just going to struggle to do what's right. Struggle to do what's right by any means necessary, whether that be for giving up our child, so that no harm comes to them, or whether it be like, I don't know at this point. I really don't know. Like I said, it's hard to see what the better's gonna be. It's really hard, and it's hard for me. I have some dreams, like Martin Luther King. I have some dreams of what the world will look like, but how to get from point A to point B, I don't know. But I do know that we do have to turn away from things, like Jesus told people, "Come out of her, my people," and understanding that those words aren't just applicable to what they were suffering back then. It's applicable to what we're suffering now, and it's having the understanding that we are actually in a suffering place, because it is not the laws who are ruling, it is the experts, and the experts are not governed by laws. This is where we're in trouble, The experts don't take their credit from laws. They take their credit from the things that they test out and having their results proven time after time after time. But it's not based on law. It's a dissection, and you can make yourself look smart by dissecting things. But it's real hard to build things when you're a master of pulling things apart. And so when we put these people in charge and tell them to lead, it's no wonder why our society looks the way it does. It's no wonder why everybody is making cases to prove things and doing things to prove things. It's not so much the people, you understand. It is the leadership, and they don't have the eyes to see, because none of us were brought up with the understanding that we need laws. None of us were brought up with the understanding of the processes that go into life, and the people that we become with the materials that build us. You spend your whole life dissecting things. It's real hard to build things. You can't be both the dissector and the builder. Do you think you're God? Both the creator and the destroyer? Do you think you're God? You cannot be both. You are not God. You don't have the capacity to be both. And we need to stop putting the demands on these experts that they should be both. We need to stop having the expectation that just because they dissect things that they should be able to build things, because they can't. It's not in them. They are the ones who take things apart. We over here have to be the ones who build. And when we build, our foundation that we build upon is law. It's the rules. Maybe these people dissected things and figured things out. But over here where we're builders, we take what they had and we build with it. We understand that we can't just champion causes, that there has to be some equality in the world. And if we're living together, then we need laws. And if we are going to protect any institution, if we're going to maintain the integrity of any institution, we must protect the integrity of law. because it is the law that's going to tell us how to live with one another, not a mediator, the law. The laws will tell us how to live with one another. But can we do it by ourselves with just the law? No, we can't do it by ourselves with just the law. Because why? What happened way back in like 1 Kings 15 something, 16, I don't know. Jeroboam, his sin was making priests out of anybody. Like anybody could be the priest. No, not everyone can be the priest. Just like the destroyer can't be the creator unless you're God, If you're going to be the ones who govern the community, the nation, if you're going to be the priest, the one who shepherds the people, if you're going to be their leader, there's got to be some things about you. You can't just run on what you learn from dissection and say, hey, follow me, we're going to tear some more stuff up. That don't work like that. We're going to champion this cause. It's one thing over here. It don't work like that. Because when you make the law subjective, you destroy it. The law has to be objective, not the people, not the leaders. Yeah, there's a need for objectivity, but not in relation to people. There's a need for objectivity in applying laws, not in the relation to people. Does that make sense? Do you get that? We are healed through our connections. If you're my leader and you don't know me, you can't lead me very far, because you don't know what I need. There's too much of a disconnect between us, If you come and you sit at my table, no one's going to tell you Jessie can't cook. No one's going to tell you someone needs to teach that girl how to cut up apples for her baby who eats whole apples. No one's going to be able to tell you this nonsense because you know me, But you leaders up here, you won't even come when Jessie invites you for dinner. How many times did I invite them to dinner? Trying to neutralize conflict. Come to dinner. Come to dinner. See me, know me, talk to me. Outside of me spewing stuff on YouTube, outside of my lecturing place where I'm trying to teach you, even though, I haven't become the best teacher just yet. I'm rough around the edges and I struggle with my words. But if you had this connection, if you get out of that objectivity, you're going to have a lot more trouble, a lot more difficult time doing shady stuff to your people because you're connected to them subjectively. I said that weird. Yeah, I say things weird. I'm sorry. But you need that subjective relationship that binds you to them and makes you accountable because your conscience kicks in then. Your guilt kicks in then. You need it. Applying the law, yeah, you got to remain objective when determining matters of the law between people. You got to remain objective there. But over here, you live under the law. You are subjective. You have to be obedient to the law. You have to come into a relationship and connect with people so that the law can be applied between this relationship. Like what laws? Some people will say when you go into a house, you eat anything that they cook. Some people will say don't eat anything they cook. The prophet Nathan, he was put to death because he ate another prophet's meal. He was put to death because God told him, don't eat their food. So, laws in relationship can be tricky, but we won't know what those laws for a relationship are if we remain objective. We got to get subjective. We got to get connected. If we're not connected, we're going to continue on with these experts, with this master-slave relationship where they remain objective and disconnected and detached. And the world keeps going to hell in a handbasket because they can't serve the people that they don't know. They're managing a budget and they have their own priorities. And we, the mass of the people, are not one of them. And that is a problem, Yeah, some things are changing, Some things are changing. They are not 100% bad. But the more we get connected, the more they see what our issues are, the more we come together and build real solutions and build a real nation, Law objective, relationship subjective. There's only one position when you should be objective, and that is when you are a judge. And I know Moses said appoint judges at the gates, but You Gates, you are not qualified to be judges. Jeroboam, your nation fell because you appointed priests anywhere. You all are appointing judges everywhere, and nobody knows how to judge. Nobody has any standard of judgment. So I'm saying my video is running out of time, and I'm going to have to come back and make it part 2, but I hope what I'm saying is clear, and I'm trying to work this out. Talk to me. Tell me where I'm missing. Let's build a better world together, okay? Y'all have a good day. God bless.